Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. Wow, what a week! Ukrainians really went with full pedal to the metal with their offensive in the Kursk region. The developments that we've seen over the week and that are happening right now as we speak are just mind-boggling. And we start with the main topic of the video, which is that it's now approximately, I think like this was 2 days ago. I think by this point, because we've seen more and more videos, it is reported that Ukrainians have captured more than 2,000 Russian troops in Kursk region, which is absolutely incredible. It is just another medal to this offensive operation that has been planned and executed. It is a medal for boosting the morale of Ukrainian armed forces, boosting the morale of all of the civilians and all of the supporters all across the world. It is a medal for changing the narrative that Ukrainians can go on offensive, that Ukrainians can win given the resources. And it gives another medal now for capturing Russian troops in huge numbers. We're seeing whole units surrendering en masse. We're seeing these videos. They're going to be reused, and so on. It's a seed in the Russian mentality that it is possible to surrender if you're surrendering together. Oftentimes, how the Russian military is built is that they are pushing the meat waves of people that just kind of agreed that they have no other option than just to go into attacking Ukrainians. Now, with these videos, with these narratives built, it creates additional seed of doubt inside of Russians that maybe, if only we can get someone on board, maybe the commander of our unit on board, then maybe if we get surrender, then Ukrainians will take us and so on. The most important moment will be when these 2,000 troops will be exchanged for the Ukrainian fighters on the Russian side. That is absolutely amazing news. But more amazing news is also on Ukrainian advances in Kursk. Here, the map, as always, I will always tell you that the map is very conservative. The actual advances of Ukrainians are much further. For example, today, Russians have reported that the town of Korenevo is captured by Ukrainians. Ukrainians have said that, please hold your horses. Like, we are having good news from the area. But there's still, mopping operation. We still need to properly secure the area. And I would give it at least 2 days before Ukrainians are going to report on the capture of this settlement. Moreover, this is additionally important, and I cannot underscore just how important it is we've started noticing what is the plan of Ukrainians. It's now becoming at least partially clear, and the plan is massive, and Ukraine is moving towards that plan already very fast. So just recently, Ukrainians have struck and destroyed a bridge over the river of what was it called? Same River, I think it was called. Yes, over the river Same. So this river Same, I will try to draw you. Okay, so let me zoom out first and foremost. So this is the Ukrainian territory here, and then this is the Russians. So the Russian territory here, you see Ukrainians advancing from the eastern side, and here, this is the Same River. This is how it goes all the way here. What is notable here? In this area that Ukrainians have been cutting off, there are in general just 3 bridges. There is a bridge around Glushkova, there is a bridge around Zvane, and there is a bridge around Karysh here. So these are 3 bridges across this river that allow Russia from the north to control what Russia controls on the south. So if these 3 bridges will go down, then the logistics of these Russian groupings here are going to be compromised significantly. It means that Ukrainians are going to start pressuring them intensively. And then Russians will ask themselves, well, should we even defend, or should we just fall back to better positions? I know that they're going to ask, because that's what they already did. Today, the Russian bloggers reported, if you can see here in this section of the map, let me double check that I don't cover it with my face. Yes, I don't. So in this section of the map, this area over here is also Russia. but it's on the western side of the river. So here it has been reported today that because Ukrainians have been pushing the Russians a little bit from the west, then these Russians actually went in and decided to relocate their forces towards the eastern side of this river, this little bit of pocket that there was there. So it's already seeming that Russians are considering how do they preserve and leave towards better positions. So it's not a crazy idea to thinking that's like, whoa, if one of the bridges is down now, it's already reported that the bridge in Zvanoye, which is over here, is already damaged and it's going to be targeted very, very soon. And the bridge that went down is actually a bridge in Glushkovo, which was the main bridge. If you look over closely, you see this yellow line over here. That's the main highway. So it's like a thick, big highway road. And then if you see Zvanoye, the bridge is not that big. You know, it's quite small. It's maybe one line. And the same kind of is also in Karish. It's also very, very small bridge. So the main bridge was actually in Glushkovo here. And that bridge is now completely gone. Now, Russians obviously will try to set up pontoon crossings, but these pontoon crossings are easy to target, and it's already been proven because Russians set up a pontoon crossing right over here, which was instantly targeted by Ukrainians, and Ukrainians already reported that it's completely down. So despite everything, the strike on this bridge is very important. There is actually a full video, and it's very, very good, but I cannot show it to you because of the YouTube policy. But what is important about the strike on this bridge is that it was struck by the Ukrainian aviation. So let me say it again. So Ukrainian armed forces flew either into Russia or super close to Russia, released the payload, and then bombed the bridge. So Ukrainian aviation is operating and bombing targets inside Russia. I want us all to stop, because oftentimes we don't take enough steps backwards to think about things. And thinking that 2 years, almost 3 years ago, it was said that all of the Ukrainian aviation is gone. All of the airfields are being bombed. Everything is being controlled. Russia has absolute advantage over the air. Russia has absolute advantage in the number of the anti-air systems. And now, 2024, Ukrainian aviation is bombing bridges inside Russia. And not just like any inside Russia. This is about 20 kilometers, I think like maybe 15 to 20 kilometers inside of the territory of Russia. And it's a super important bridge, because this bridge now compromises this whole southern grouping of Russians, and they will consider whether or not they should probably retreat. And that's very, very good news. And then the cherry on top of this cake. You want a cherry? I deliver. So there is actually, from the 17th of May of 2023, there was a video from this bridge where they were stating in the description of this video, stating that this bridge has been waiting to be renewed for 37 years. Finally, the bridge over the River Seine has begun reconstruction process and is being renewed. So 17th of May of last year, this bridge was being renewed after 37 years of being dismissed. And now it's gone. Well, let's move a little bit to the east here. The town of Korenovo. Is it important? What does it allow to do? And what's the perspectives? Well, the main point that Ukrainians would love to contest in the area, which would basically change the whole narrative of this whole region, is the city, or like a big town of Rylsk. It's a huge logistics hub in the area, and it would be super, super good for Ukrainians to capture it. And I want you to kind of look at this from the topographic map. Now, the topographic map is a bit because it's all in Russian. But let me kind of explain what you're looking at. So here you see Suja. This is that town that Ukrainians have captured recently. This is Glushkova, where that bridge was that we talked about, and this is Korenovo. So red means it's high ground, green means it's like a valley. So green is a little bit more flat, red is more hilly and high ground. So if you look at this area right over here between Korenovo and Rilsk, then you can see that the area, if Korenovo is actually captured, then this valley over here is actually quite wide and it's quite flat land. So Ukrainians can actually advance quite good along the road towards Rilsk because it's a good highway. The only difficulty here is going to be for Ukrainians to try to secure themselves against the potential flank attacks from the high ground. And moving further to the east, this is where we're looking at the situation to the east of Suja. Now here, a lot of critique was to Ukrainians from the analysts because it's not shown here, but actually there's a lot of these kind of like appendices that Ukraine has where they were trying to move forward and capture more territory. But the critique was that cutting off these appendices would be really painful for Ukrainians, and Ukrainians needed to fortify the area in between these appendices. And that's exactly what Ukraine has been doing over the past weeks. A lot of these towns that are not colored on this map are now in control of Ukrainian armed forces, and Ukrainians have consolidated their position and they have built a better, more secure position for them to continue pulling their offensive off. And Russians are struggling. Russians are struggling responding to the Ukrainian offensive because they're greedy. Because they're greedy and they're disorganized. Right now, there are two major narratives that are driving the Russian forces. On one side, they really want to stop Ukrainian advances in the Kursk region. Really want to stop. But on the other side, the Putin has set up objective for 2024 to achieve maximum victory for themselves. So Russians really try to secure the Kursk way lightly. They pulled only the forces that they could. They pulled only the forces that were there to kind of reinforce the forces that were just in fighting and were reformatting themselves, and they've sent this whole blend, like this soup of different forces towards this Kursk region. And Ukrainians are reporting exactly that sometimes they get like units that know how to fight, but the other times they're meeting units that don't know how to fight and they're very disorganized. And now Russians are considering to send in additionally conscripts to plug in this hole. What I'm stating is that what Russia is committing to trying to secure the Kursk offensive so far is like shit. And that is important because Russians are continuing their advances on the Pokrovsk direction. And we need to be very, very honest. Ukrainians are having very difficult time at Pokrovsk direction. Incredibly difficult. Russians are capturing more villages almost every day. But I want you to level with me here, because what happened with the Ukrainian Kursk offensive is now people look at the Pokrovsk situation. And if before, when it was Ukrainians just defending and then just like Russia captured this, Russia captured that, Russia captured something else, and you were sitting there as like, man, we cannot do anything. You know, it's like it feels that Ukraine cannot do anything, despite the fact that maybe on paper, Ukrainians actually had it pretty okay. They like the exchange ratios between the Russian troops and Ukrainian troops lost was very, very favorable, and it was all good, controlled. But now the perception is different. I cannot really explain it to you. It's in the feeling level. But look, if before Russians were like, you know, Russia captured this, but now we're like, yeah, they did, but also, like, you know, you lost 3 times that in Kursk in a week. And it's not even stopping. You're about to lose another 700 square kilometers. Like, my man, what are you doing in Pokrovsk? Your fucking house is burning. And that is one thing. The second thing is that let's discuss the actual military situation. Because some people said that, like, yeah, Russia has a lot of forces and they're able to supply additional reserves to continue advancing, capture maybe smaller villages, capturing certain positions, going through the fields, going along the railway lines, and so on and so on. But people stating that like as soon as they reach Pokrovsk and Mirnograd, and then there is like big industrial areas of like an actual city, they say they don't have the resources. They say that they will just die there. Like, I mean, die as a sense of like offensive will die out. Russians are dying anyway. And this is one way of looking at that. The Ukrainians are just that there's not enough Russians to fully capture Pokrovsk. And then the second one is, well, what if Russia does? You know, what if Russia achieve their program maximum for this year? They capture Pokrovsk. They capture like the center logistics hub of the area. It's going to be a lot harder for Ukrainians to supply logistics in all of this area here, and so on. But to be honest, I feel that majority of people are just going to ask, Pokrovsk what? Like, what is that? And I'm not degrading here the value of the city. Every Ukrainian city and village and town is super valuable. What I'm trying to underscore here is that the nature of war does not change if Russia captures another important town. Ukrainians will not surrender. The help of the allies suddenly will not stop. The allies will not suddenly state, like, oh wow, Pokrovsk is now captured by Russians. That's it. You need to go negotiate or some shit like that. No, and already now, because of the Kursk offensive, you cannot capture Pokrovsk and say it was like, well, you see, we captured the whole thing now. It's like, we're in such a strong position against Ukrainians. It's like, no, man, again, your house is burning. What are you doing in Pokrovsk? So the narrative that Putin tried to build has fallen apart, and militarily, as unforgiving it is to Ukrainians and people that live in Pokrovsk and so on, but this doesn't change the nature of war. Ukrainians will not surrender. Ukrainians will continue fighting, and they will continue doing more and more. And what I want to say is I want our community to also do more. Because you know what? We already did a lot. You did it. You, this community right over here. This thing is a first delivery of the equipment that we have been gathering donations from. So there's been generator. There has been scouting drones, FPV drones, night vision goggles, electronic warfare equipment, everything. It's been already prepared, it's been handed over to Ukrainian armed forces, and it's already on the way on the front line. And next purchases are already ongoing. The guys from the front lines are saying huge thanks to you. And I think we need to make sure that there are more boxes that are going to be delivered to the guys at the front line. So this community, you guys, have been absolutely stunning. Over 331,000 in less than 2 weeks. In less than 2 weeks. Incredible. But I think we can do more as Ukrainians are doing more and delivering more. The offensive will stop. Russians won't stop surrendering. We're going to win. Victory is coming. Slava Ukraini. I love you, and I see you next time.